customer service, and top-notch craftsmanship. With years of experience in the industry, Coalition Restoration has built a notable reputation for having a team filled with skilled professionals and possessing the expertise to handle any roofing project, big or small. Visit their website today for a free roof assessment at www.coalitionrestoration.com or give them a call at 402-607-8186. The Rabbit Hole Bakery, located at 8th and Q in the Haymarket, is the ideal place for fresh breakfast items or desserts made daily. Cream puffs, cinnamon rolls, carrot cake, sweet potato, pecan cookies, brownies, blondies. Do I need to keep going? What about bread pudding with homemade bourbon caramel sauce? Stop by the Rabbit Hole Bakery at 8th and Q in the Haymarket today to satisfy your cravings. And if you're looking for larger group orders, they do that too. Order ahead on their website at therabbitholebakery.com today.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solution. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Hi, this is State Senator Carolyn Bozin. As a state senator, wife, and mom, I believe Nebraska is a great place to work and raise a family. My husband Reggie and I are local family business owners and proud to be involved in our community. Property tax relief is important to every family. Last year, I voted for the largest property tax relief package in Nebraska history, and I will continue to advocate for property tax relief. Vote Carolyn Bozin on November 5th. Paid for by Bozin for Legislature.
The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations, now 5 Lincoln locations. That's 25% more locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? Feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11, located right alongside the 93.7 The Ticket Studios at 1040 O Street.
Ryan, with all this red and all these people around, I'm still not seeing the tailgate.
Todd Spidell, former body shop owner, terrible driver.
We're getting close. Now, did you know with 3 locations in Lincoln and hundreds of years of combined technician experience, we can get Husker fans back on the road even quicker and safer after their tailgate mishaps? Oh, Todd, turn left right here.
Left or right?
Left, right here.
Right?
Well, you wait for the tow truck. I'm getting a hot dog.
Well, I guess while I'm waiting. All right! Most recommended! Eustace Body Shop!
Woohoo! Dude, you should be on American Idol.
You really think so?
No.
Accidents happen, even to Husker fans. If it happens to you, call Eustace Body Shop, where our customers send their friends.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Ticket listeners know a dream team when they see one. At Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT. From cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between. We'll help you leverage technology to become your most secure, efficient, and profitable. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation. We can show you where you might be vulnerable, inefficient, or overspending. It's a game changer, and it's totally free. Claim yours right now at appliedconnective.com.
Welcome in to the Corner 3, taking you around the arc of college basketball. From the NAAC to the Pac-12, the WCC to the SWAC. We cover it all now on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Austin Oerman.
Welcome into the Corner 3. It's a Friday night at 6, which means we are talking some college hoops here on The Ticket. Really appreciate you being along for the ride. I do have our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line up, so if you're on the way to state football, shoot me a text, 402-464-5685. Tell me which game you're going to. Tell me how far out from the game you are. Tell me who you're rooting for. Of course, don't forget, we do have state football coming up right after me, 7 o'clock. pregame probably closer to 6:45 or 6:50 with Nick Sainert and Jay Foreman. So make sure after corner 3 is done, you stay tuned for some state football action. We'll bring you the first round. We'll bring you the second, third, and I believe state championships in the future and on the horizon as well. So again, let me know if you're listening in your car or if you're sitting at home waiting for your game on the radio. Let me know where you're at. Let me know who you're cheering on tonight. We'll get a little roll call going here on the Corner 3. Should be a fun show for you over the next 40 minutes or so before we get you out to our own high school football coverage. Nebraska men's basketball invited to a multi-team event, in MTE for short. It's a familiar one for the Huskers. This year, Huskers are going out to Hawaii over Christmas break. They'll take part in the multi-team event out there on the Big Island. But in 2025, the Huskers just 3 hours away from home at it's always the Sprint Center to me, the T-Mobile Center down in Kansas City. Tell you about that. Tell you about the new selection criteria for the NIT, the National Invitational Tournament, and why it doesn't favor the Big Ten. Why do the new NIT selection criteria not favor the Big Ten? We'll get into all of that and more here in the first segment. Second segment of the show, we'll be reviewing and responding to a list that CBS Sports put out. I believe it was Matt Norlander who took the lead with this one, again, over there at CBS Sports, ranking the best team in each state, and Washington, D.C. included as well. Sorry, Puerto Rico, you don't have a Division I basketball team. You're excluded here. Guam, Virgin Islands, all of you as well. So the 50 states in D.C., which is the best program in each of those 51 entities? There's some interesting ones. There are some tough calls, some easy calls. We'll go over the tougher ones where I agree or I disagree. That'll all be in segment number 2. But let's dive right into it here. Nebraska invited to the 2025 Hall of Fame Classic in Kansas City. This news came out a little while ago. John Rothstein was one of the first who reported it. Nebraska has been down to this Hall of Fame Classic before. It wasn't that long ago. It was at the start of the 2018 season. It's another good lineup. Back in 2018, Nebraska's first round opponent was Missouri State out of the Missouri Valley Conference, and the other half of the bracket was Texas Tech and USC. The 2025 edition, Mississippi State and Kansas State are the two other teams that we know, at least right now. Fourth team is still TBD. Kansas State gets the closest game, right? Get to play at the home of the Big 12 tournament there at the T-Mobile Center. It'll be November 20th and 21st of 2025. Kansas State is in a fascinating spot as a program right now. One of the biggest NIL war chests in the sport of college basketball right now. Kind of incredible what's going on the NIL front down there in the Little Apple. Make or break year for Jerome Tang? No, not quite yet. Had a really good year 2 years ago. Took a step back last year, but given the talent that they lost off of that team, maybe expected. But the Wildcats really dove into the transfer portal this year. But of course, this MTE is taking place next year. Same sort of story for Mississippi State. Made the tournament, bounced in the first round by Michigan State a year ago. Some interesting young pieces for head coach Chris Jans down there, headlined by Josh Hubbard. If Nebraska faces Josh Hubbard, I would be very surprised. That's a guy that I think is going to play his way into, at the very least, NBA draft consideration. Maybe he's a guy that has that tough stay or go call, but my guess is that Josh Hubbard has a good year in a good SEC, and he ends up bouncing to the NBA. And then again, we're waiting on that fourth team. No idea when that'll come out. But like I mentioned, Nebraska's been there, and it wasn't that long ago if you look at just raw years, right? Back in 2018, so it'll be 7-8 years between appearances for the Huskers in this event. It was an interesting tournament last time. In the first game, it was Nebraska and Missouri State, a so-so team out of the Missouri Valley. Huskers led it 36-29 at halftime, put up 49 points in the second half, end up winning it by 23, 85-62, the final score. Here's your box score for your Huskers back in the day. Your leading scorer against Missouri State, Isaac Copeland, 9 of 14 shooting, including 2 of 3 from three-point range. He had 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Your second leading scorer on the night, Glenn Watson, Isaiah Roby chips in 13 as the third leading scorer as well. How about this for a name? Nana Akenton off the bench, 18 minutes, 4 of 6 shooting, including 3 of 5 from 3. Other luminaries on that team, you got some Tanner Borkart minutes. You got young Thorbjarnarson minutes. Johnny Trueblood and Justin Costello get into the game at the end of that Husker bench there. So Nebraska beats Missouri State in one of the semifinals. The other semifinal was Texas Tech and USC. We'll get into this Texas Tech team here in just a little bit. This was kind of mid-Andy Enfield tenure USC. Kevin Porter Jr. was the leading scorer in the game against Texas Tech. They had another interesting game. Yeah, Benny Boatwright. Benny Boatwright was the other name for USC. They had 15 and 14 in the semifinal game against Texas Tech. And then it was Nebraska and Texas Tech matched up in the championship game. And this Texas Tech team is one of the most fascinating teams that college basketball has seen in a while. Chris Beard was the head coach at the time. This is really when Chris Beard got Texas Tech up and running. The Red Raiders were 4-0 coming into this game, as were the Huskers. Leading scorer for the Red Raiders, Jarrett Culver. Jarrett Culver is a guy I thought was going to be a stud in the NBA. His jump shot came and went in college, but he was a 6'8", 6'6" to 6'8", on-ball wing, primary shot creator for them. Pretty darn athletic, right? A little bit of a boxy athlete, little rigid, not maybe the most fluid, but he could jump. He could move, and you had to defend to play on this Texas A&M team. He had 26 points against Nebraska, 9 of 18 shooting overall, 6 of 14 from 2, 3 of 4 from 3. Also chipped in 6 rebounds, a couple assists, and a block. Matt Mooney, who bounced around a little bit in his college career, second leading scorer, had 15 points, 5 of 5 at the free throw line. He played a lot of point guard for that team. Davide Moretti made his name throughout conference play and then in the Final Four as well. He was the Italian that came over and played for them, made his mark in the Final Four that Texas Tech would end up reaching in the national championship game as well. Tariq Owens was a guy that was an absolute menace defensively, an absolute nightmare. He was 6'11", I want to say is what he was listed at. Yeah, 6'10", 6'11", but only 205. If you think of a pogo stick, that was Tariq Owens. He could jump out of the gym, would try to swat everything in sight. In fact, in that year before he came to Texas Tech, he led the Big East in blocks with 2.8 blocks per game. He translated that over to the Big 12 really well with 2.5 blocks per game as well. He was a monster in the pick and roll, a monster finishing around the rim, and he had a decent game against Nebraska. Only 2 of 7 from the floor, but 8 rebounds, 2 block shots. I remember him being a presence there in the middle. Norrance Odiase was another name that, if you really want to dig deep into your college basketball database, interesting sort of name there, Brandon Francois. And then one of the guys that I thought was really going to take off in college was a guy by the name of Kyler Edwards. He starts his career at Texas Tech, finishes his career in 2022 at Houston. He was okay by the end of his career, pretty good for, again, a really solid Houston team. He finished his career averaging 14 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists per game, but maybe not the heights that I expected a guy like Kyler Edwards to take off to. Did make the All-American Conference team in the 21-22 season and an all-conference tournament player. But that Texas Tech team, stifling defense and relied so much on Jarrett Culver to go get him a bucket. But you could see, even in the late stages of Tim Miles, Nebraska struggled with some athleticism, right? Just having a dude that could go get a bucket. Missouri State didn't really have that. Texas Tech did. Jarrett Culver was a problem for Nebraska. Not the exact same type of player as Terrence Shannon Jr. Again, a little bit boxier of an athlete, maybe not quite as fluid as TSJ was, like we saw. But Nebraska could not slow him down. Matt Mooney had a good game as well. And you could tell that Nebraska wasn't ready for the tenacity of Texas Tech defensively. Their no-middle scheme that before he left was released. Mark Adams was kind of the pioneer of that because he took over for Chris Beard when Chris Beard left Texas A&M under reasons that we don't need to get into right now. Nebraska's leading scorer, Isaac Copeland, again in back-to-back games. Pretty good tournament for him. 20 points against the Red Raiders. but he got 9 of those at the free throw line, only 9 of 14 at the line for Copeland. He got 9 field goal attempts up, made 5 of them. Glenn Watson struggled with the perimeter length and aggression. He had only 6 points on 2 of 11 shooting. Isaiah Roby was pretty well overmatched. He did block 3 shots, but had 4 turnovers. Thomas Allen couldn't get free on the perimeter. And James Palmer Jr. really struggled in this tournament. The first game against Missouri State looked a little bit better in the box score, just kind of an off shooting night for JPJ. He had 8 points and 4 rebounds to go with 3 assists, but he turned the ball over 5 times. Just kind of sloppy in that first game. I remember calling it. He never got into a rhythm, and it didn't get any easier against Texas Tech. Again, Jarrett Culver was on him. Moretti was on him. Brandon Francis was on him as well. James Palmer Jr. followed up his 8.5 turnover performance with a 13.4 turnover performance, and he fouled out of the game. That game against Texas Tech illustrates some of the same issues that I worry that this Nebraska team is going to have as well. Does Nebraska have a James Palmer Jr.? No, not exactly. He and Bryce Williams are kind of close. It's not that far off in terms of style of play and what they want to do. I think Williams is a more engaged defender, but both smooth guys, probably referred to as technicians, right? What Nebraska doesn't always have is the antidote to pressure, is the antidote to aggressive, gritty defense. When teams dig in, pressure Nebraska on the perimeter, they struggle. There's not always a lot of back cutting. There's not always a lot of physical screening to get guys off. There's not always tight handle. And there's not a lot of quick first step for Nebraska to get away from this pressure. When you have a pressuring, aggressive defense, you assume the guys on ball are going to be quick as well, which is why these players for Nebraska cannot hesitate when they have that split-second advantage. We've seen Nebraska offenses get hijacked before, right? By guys that try too hard to create their own shot. There's a very fine line between doing it yourself, between hijacking the offense and throwing off the rhythm, and taking advantage of an advantage. Nebraska's offense hasn't always created simple, easy advantage. It's a system where the players have to be cerebral. Think about Derek Walker and Sam Griesel's read and react. Think about how Keisei Tominaga had to move off the ball. Think about Rink Mass learning the angles in the offense. There's not always cut and dry solutions for Nebraska players, and especially not against pressure, which is where Strick and I were talking about it a little bit during On the Block in the first segment of the show. That's a place where I think a guy like Raleigh Worcester can come up big for Nebraska. No, he's not the most athletic, but he can do a little bit of that Sam Griesel bully ball and body guys down to the block to release some pressure. I think Andrew Morgan can dribble on the perimeter a little bit as a safety valve, maybe same for Berke Boyukdengel. But really the defining characteristic for the Nebraska offense is going to be Bryce Williams' handle. If he's quick, if he's concise, and he's tight with his handle, I trust him in how he reads the game to take advantage of those opportunities that are created for him. But if Bryce Williams is dribbling the ball out away from his body, he's indecisive, and he's almost unselfish to a fault, the Nebraska offense is going to struggle. So I do think that game against Texas Tech is a little illustrative of what could befall Nebraska, even though it is a different style from Tim Miles to Fred Hoiberg, obviously. Really quickly here, I do want to get to the new NIT selection criteria. I saw this first from a Twitter account called NIT Stu. Yes, he is an NIT fanboy and fanatic. And he quote tweeted this article with 3 main points. The best developments, according to him, is number 3, the Big 12, the Big East, and the Big 10 are punished for their deal with the devil with Fox. Number 2, the middle ground on returning old auto bids to conferences is there. And number 1, the experimental coaches challenge rule. That's maybe the most interesting part. Coaches will have the ability to challenge out-of-bounds calls in the last 2 minutes of the game. The rule would eliminate the officials' voluntary ability to review out-of-bounds calls and instead require the coaches' appeals. Refs don't just get to stop the game in the NIT moving forward. Coaches have to be the ones to appeal, similar to throwing your red flag in football, similar to throwing your green challenge card in volleyball. Coaches will be allowed to appeal with no timeouts, But if you get it wrong, if your appeal is not overturned in your favor, you get an excessive timeout technical foul, which gives 2 free throws to your opponent. If you appeal and the call stands with a timeout, you get your timeout back. If the coach appeals and the call is overturned, you keep your timeouts. A legitimate, honest, true challenge system the way it can be. This does not mean you can challenge fouls. Block charge is not reviewable, just out of bounds calls. And that is a huge step in the right direction. Okay, the other 2 points. Number 2, the middle ground returning for the auto bids. Here's what's going to happen. So, 16 exempt teams is what the NCAA is calling these. Exempt teams, per this NCAA article, will include the top 2 teams not selected to the NCAA tournament from both the ACC and SEC conferences. So your top 2 bubble teams from the ACC and your top 2 bubble teams from the SEC are automatically invited to the NIT. Okay? The top team not selected to the NCAA tournament from the top 12 conferences based on KenPom's ratings will also receive an exempt bid to the NIT, and they'll use all sorts of numbers to determine the top teams from each conference based on all sorts of different ratings. So yes, the Big 10, the Big 12, and the Big East will get in to the NIT, but it's going to be a crappy team. Because why? Point number 3 from NIT Stu, the Big 12, Big East, and Big 10's deal with the devil, he's calling it, with Fox. The college basketball crown taking place in Vegas. Essentially, Fox is putting on its own NIT. Here is what Fox says. The inaugural college basketball crown is set to feature schools from the Big 10, the Big 12, and Big East with additional at-large participants. College basketball crown will take place at MGM Grand Garden Arena and T-Mobile Arena from Monday, March 31st through Sunday, April 6th. All these games will be visible on Fox. Teams that did not qualify for the NCAA tournament will be eligible for the college basketball crown, with 2 automatic qualifiers coming from each participating conference and additional teams chosen by a committee. 2 teams from the Big 10, 2 from the Big 12, and got to stick my other hand here, 2 from the Big East automatically entered into the college basketball crown. This is going to lead to some fascinating politics. The NIT, let's not forget, used to be the premier tournament. The NCAA kind of took over and kicked the NIT to the side, but the NIT used to be tournament number 1. This was a long time ago. I get it. So it hasn't been this way for a while. But Fox basically said, we like the TV package that we have with our partners. We're doing our own thing. I'm sure there will be ACC and SEC teams selected to this, or at least invited to it. But this is where your college football realignment politics come into play in basketball. Fox has the majority of the rights for the Big 10. We know this. They also have it for the Big 12 and the Big East in basketball. Will these conference commissioners say that, yeah, it's okay to go play in the NIT? Or will they make their top 2 teams play in this tournament from Fox? Not that the NIT brings in a lot of money, and I don't think these conference commissioners would approve a tournament like this if they didn't think it was as much, if not more money than they would get out of the NIT. But I hate the idea of having a separate, segregated tournament that brings even more politics into play. We don't need the college basketball crown. We don't. I don't like this deal. The Big 10, the Big 12, and the Big East should have continued to send their teams to the NIT and put more of Fox's funding behind. I know it's an NIT deal, but work it out. If Fox and CBS can work together on the NFL, they can work together on college basketball. We needed both networks pushing this, right? We needed Fox and ESPN working together on this tournament. Instead, we splinter it. Instead, we make it more political. Instead, we water down 2 products instead of strengthening one. Augie says, this sounds like a bunch of horse hockey, Austin. Yes, Augie, it is. It is not good. It is not a good decision from, well, the Big Ten, the Big East, and the Big 12, honestly. I don't blame them if they get more money. I can get where they're coming from, but I don't have to like it. I wish they would have publicly pursued strengthening the NIT with funding and going all in on that tournament as the second Division I, instead of putting on something that just feels made up. Like the college basketball crown feels even hokier than the NBA in-season tournament. And I have made my feelings on that known, which is coming up again very soon. Strick and I will talk about it during On the Block. I don't like this. But hey, it's the reality. Get ready for more politics in college basketball. All right, let's take a quick break. Let's move over to the best teams in college basketball state by state. CBS Sports put out their rankings, put out their list. I'm going to go through it. Some I agree with, some I disagree with, and some really tight races. I'll tell you what CBS Sports thinks. I'll tell you what I think when we get back to the Corner 3.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solution. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait. Apply now.
This is State Senator Carolyn Bozin. Public safety is important in our community. I have a proven record of protecting public safety. I have prosecuted perpetrators of domestic violence, advocated for the rights of child abuse victims, held sexual predators accountable, and fought to keep drug traffickers off our streets. This is Senator Carolyn Bozin, and I will continue to fight to keep our community safe. Vote Carolyn Bozin on November 5th. Paid for by Bozin for Legislature.
Have you been accused of a crime and don't know where to turn? At Liberty Law Group, we understand that a call to an attorney is a call for help. If you're up against the legal system, you need an advocate you can trust to handle your case with professionalism and compassion. Liberty Law's experienced trial attorneys are committed to the defense of liberty for those accused. Don't let a criminal charge ruin your life. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Liberty Law Group, trial attorneys you need, advocates you deserve. That's 877-42-LIBERTY or libertylawnebraska.com.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting lincolnteammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Step into healing at Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery. Our team of top-notch medical professionals turns pain into progress with state-of-the-art treatments and compassionate care. Visit prairieortho.com and discover the difference in quality orthopedic and plastic surgery services tailored to your unique needs. Your health matters, and Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery is dedicated to helping you thrive. Reach your full potential. Embrace a better tomorrow with Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Back to the Corner 3 on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Austin Oerman.
We're back here on the Corner 3. This will be the last segment of the show because We're getting you out to high school football. Jay Foreman, Nick Sainer on the call. Looking forward to that. But stick with me here. Again, let me know if you're on your way to a state football game. Let me know where it is you're headed, where you're listening from. Would love to give you and your high school team, your son, your daughter's high school team, a shout out here while we're on the air for the Corner 3. All right, CBS Sports put out its best college basketball team by state ranking. Let's just start with Nebraska. Let's get it out of the way. Not much to talk about here. You got 3 Division I programs in the state. It's Nebraska, it's Creighton, and it's the Mavericks up in Omaha. And it is an Omaha team taking the number 1 spot. It's Creighton. Here's what CBS Sports had to say. Greg McDermott was hired at Creighton in 2010. Since then, the Blue Jays have outranked the Big Red at Ken Pom all years but 2. That will be the case again in 24-25, given Creighton could have a National Player of the Year candidate and the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year, that being Ryan Kalkbrenner. The Blue Jays bring back other key pieces on a team that will challenge in the Big East and should again earn a good seed. Nebraska has a lot of players who have not yet proven their value in a Cornhusker uniform, but this team did make the NCAAs in March as an 8 seed, so perhaps the good juju will carry over. Unfortunately true. Unfortunately true. Huskers play the Jays late November at CHI Health Center. So, road in-state game for the Huskers there. All right. I got a handful of teams here in the next 15 minutes or so, or states to go through. Again, some I did agree with, some I like the rationale, some I don't. We'll go through them kind of rapid fire here. First one's at the very top of the list, alphabetically, Alabama. Alabama, the Crimson Tide, Roll Tide, already deserving number 1. CBS Sports had them number 1 overall in the 1 through 360 bajillion, whatever teams it is now in college basketball rankings. But Auburn is close. Auburn is close. Auburn typically starts the year around the top 10 in a bunch of these preseason predictive metrics. They're pretty neck and neck right now. Johnny Broom's a stud. Mark Sears is getting a lot of the headlines and a lot of the attention for the numbers he put up for an Alabama team that made the Final Four last year, deservedly so. But watch out for Auburn. Watch out for Auburn. So I bring this state up for those 2 teams as well. It's going to be some very high-level basketball in the Iron Bowl, but make it the hardwood edition. But guess what? You also have Samford. Bucky McMillan is another young, rising coach in the Southern Conference that you should keep an eye on. Watch out for Samford. They're fun. They're spicy. They're interesting. Oh, in your preseason American Conference pick to win the conference, UAB, also in Birmingham. Alabama football's been good. Auburn's been up and down. Alabama's a basketball state this year, y'all. Watch Bama hoops. That's what I'm going to say. We move on to California. Obviously, a lot of programs in this state. It's a whopper. It's a big one. We know. UCLA reclaims its spot at the top of the list. This is one that's really bounced back and forth over the last handful of years. You have a really solid, rock solid San Diego State program led by Brian Dutcher that's made the Final Four. That's been not just a second, but third weekend team recently. That's put up massive amounts of wins in the Mountain West recently. You've had USC pop up into the NCAA tournament, put first-round talent out into the NBA draft. And then St. Mary's. Yeah, little old St. Mary's, coached by Randy Bennett out there in Moraga. You've had some really good Gales teams recently. And that's not to write off what UCLA has done or not done. Again, a second and occasionally third weekend team in just the last 5 years. Not like UCLA's been bad, but UCLA hasn't always been the slam dunk preseason pick to run the state of California in basketball like you think UCLA would be. I mean, one of the deepest blue of the blue bloods that we can think of. It should be UCLA, leading the state pretty much every year, but it hasn't been. They've overachieved. They've underachieved. CBS Sports picks the Bruins first, and I think I agree. I love Mick Cronin in the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten is in Mick Cronin's DNA. He's not a Big Ten guy, but he feels very Big Ten. He coaches very Big Ten, and now he's in the Big Ten. I think you'll get a little bit of the West Coast flair with UCLA, but you'll get some honest, true, dyed-in-the-wool Big Ten vibes from the Bruins this year. USC's in transition. Eric Musselman in because Andy Enfield out to SMU. USC, I have no idea what to do with. The more I read about the Trojans, the more I think I was maybe low on them. I still think that USC is a team that's more likely to finish 14th than it is to finish 4th in the Big Ten. I don't necessarily see the fit for the Trojans, but people keep telling me they can switch 1 through 4, and they've got a lot of different guys that could be the go-to option offensively. You get a local tie to the Trojans with St. Thomas there out of Millard North High School by way of Loyola Chicago. We know Will Kyle III is a UCLA Bruin right now. Maybe I need to do another dive into USC. Maybe I need to study up some more. I'm not necessarily buying it year 1 under Eric Musselman. And to be fair, after what he did to my boy, my guy Stricky, I'm not necessarily going to be high on the Trojans. I got to stick up for my guy Strick. But maybe I was underrating USC. Let's move along to the state of Florida. Florida's coming. Todd Golden got hired away from San Francisco as one of the most analytically savvy, forward-thinking young coaches in the business, and he's delivered. Florida lost some talent, but I think Golden's playing basketball in a way that's going to maximize what he has on that roster. Miami, though. Watch out for Miami. They were wildly disappointing last year. Wildly disappointing. They lose Norchad Omier. That's a blow. But you get Nigel Pack to return for his 80,000th year in college basketball. You get a freshman level of Jalil Bethea. Miami's going to be fun. I don't know if they're going to be good, but they could at least be fun. Florida Atlantic down with Dusty May gone. UCF, maybe interesting on the bubble, but the team that I talked with Jacob Bigelow about a little bit last week, South Florida, was making waves in the American Conference. Finally put a respectable basketball product on the floor, and their head coach, Amir Abdur-Rahim, passed away last week, October 25th. Aggressive illness, didn't wake up off the table for surgery. It's a heartbreaking story for South Florida. Otherwise, they, would have challenged for best team in the Sunshine State. To Illinois, we go to the middle of the country. Illinois is the best team, pretty clearly, but watch out for the lower levels. Loyola Chicago, going to be up after maybe a little bit of a step back the last couple of years. Do I expect them to be a Final Four team perennially? Obviously not. But watch out for Bradley. Bradley, now that Drake lost its head coach, is the favorite in the Missouri Valley. I mean, Bradley's been up there. It's been 1 or 2, them and Drake. Watch out for Northern Iowa as well. The state of Iowa is also mildly fascinating, but the state of Indiana, this was Purdue by a landslide the last few years. CBS Sports picks Purdue. I would as well. That's a closer gap now. You trust Purdue more than you trust Indiana, but the Hoosiers at least made it a conversation with the amount of talent that they brought in out of the transfer portal. Notre Dame, not an ACC champion sleeper, but that's a bubble sleeper. That's a bubble sleeper with Micah Shrewsbury in charge there. Again, another guy that Bigelow really, really likes and is monitoring there. Even Butler, right? Another year, Tad Mata. What do the Bulldogs look like? Indiana's a basketball state to its core. We know that. It's still Purdue on top. But man, it's at least a conversation now. And I think that's good for the state of Indiana. You can't just have one program running it. Yes, it's cyclical. Yes, it'll come and go. But you can't just have Purdue be good. You can't just have Indiana be good. It's good for the state of Indiana that the highest majors are good, that Butler will be interesting, and that Notre Dame is at least somewhat back on the way up. I agree with Michigan over Michigan State in the Mitten State. I agree with CBS Sports. I am out on Michigan State. That's a bubble team at best, and I'm high on Michigan. That's a Big Ten championship dark horse right there. To North Carolina, they got it right. My beloved Duke Blue Devils. Augie, don't come at me with anything if you're still out there on the text line. You know Duke's going to be better than Carolina this year. Wake Forest is good. Wake Forest is fun. High Point has a chance to sneak in with a Big South auto bid. Appalachian State out of the Sun Belt as well. North Carolina basketball as a whole, not the Tar Heels. I'm not saying anything nice about the Tar Heels. Basketball in the state of North Carolina at the collegiate level will be good. Paced, of course, by my beloved Duke Blue Devils. One other state to get to here before I get a couple honorable mentions in there. Ohio. O-H-I-O. You got the Buckeyes. You got the Bearcats. You got the Flyers. The CBS's pick is Xavier. The Musketeers. Not just 3 of them, 5 of them on the court at a time, unless, all hell breaks loose. I don't know about this one. I really don't know about this one. I would pick Cincinnati. Cincinnati brings back a lot, made a couple key additions out of the transfer portal. I think that's a second weekend team. And then I would go Ohio State. I really would. I really like the talent that Jake Diebler has there, but I'm just not sold on Coach Diebler himself quite yet. So I would go Cincinnati, even in the Big 12 at number 1. I would go Ohio State number 2. Xavier not far behind Ohio State at number 3. Zach Fremantle back. We'll see for how long with his injury problems. Jerome Hunter back as well. Ryan Conwell from Indiana State can really stroke it. He's a really solid shooting guard as well. And Dayton is going to challenge for the A-10. They are a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament last year. Anthony Grant is a really good coach, a really good fit for that program. I disagree with Ohio. Other interesting states to monitor. Connecticut, obviously UConn's the top dog, but the mid-major basketball there is going to be fun. Arizona versus Arizona State is not the matchup. It's Arizona and Grand Canyon. That is the matchup to monitor for basketball supremacy in that state. Iowa State, I'm pretty out on Iowa. I think I've made my feelings clear on that throughout the offseason here. But some people think that another year with that core that they have is going to be good for them. I disagree, but Iowa State is going to be 2-seed or better this year. Prepare yourselves for some disgustingly low-scoring Iowa State games. And then obviously there's a lot of programs in Texas as well. It's going to be between Texas Tech and Baylor for number 2. Houston's very clearly number 1. I agree with CBS Sports when they pick Houston to be number 1. Baylor's probably my flavor of the month at number 2. Tech not far behind at 3. And Texas is at least spicy. Texas is at least interesting with Trey Johnson. That'll do it for me. I'm getting out of here. Short and sweet edition of the Corner 3. Thanks for tuning in. We'll do it again next Friday from 6 to 7. We'll have a Husker basketball data point to talk about a little bit. But don't worry, Strick and I will talk about it next week during On the Block as well. Don't go anywhere. We got high school football state tournament edition coming your way. Jay Foreman, Nick Sainer in just a minute.
Hey guys, it's Nick Sainer. This week's 93.7 The Ticket Athlete of the Week is Nathan Axman of Waverly High School. Axman racked up 244 rushing yards on 30 carries on Friday in a come-from-behind win against Lincoln Pius X. Axman scored 1 rushing touchdown, but also threw the go-ahead 10-yard touchdown pass to add to his total touchdown total. Waverly improves to 7-2 on the season as they earned the 6th seed in the Class B playoff and now host number 11 Norris on Friday. The Ticket's Athlete of the Week is powered by 3 Pillars Performance. Unlock your peak performance with the expert instruction at 3 Pillars Performance in Lincoln and online at 3pillarsperformance.com.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
It's the fall sports season, and that means that the school year is back in session and you're planning road trips for Nebraska football games and following your kids around to their different events. Stop telling yourself you'll upgrade your car someday and do it now. Mullen Motors Lot is full of great vehicles to take home so you don't have to worry about your current car struggling through another season. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Lake and find your next ride as your fall schedule gets